Mm. So, this video that I just wanted to make to just kind of show my appreciation and love for Final Fantasy. I've been playing for a while, for a few years, and it's just always been something it's just grown into something that's been a big part of my life in just a bunch of different ways. And after talking about it with my girlfriend and nagging to her about how much I love it, I just thought again I'd take this time to just kind of put it into words, into a video, and just share, really, just maybe even see what other people think, and their own experiences with the game as well, and the series as a whole. But I think around the first time I even played a video game was with Donkey Kong. I played it on the Super Nintendo at my aunt's house, and I never seen a game before. I was just like, oh, like, this looks like fun. I don't know. I can't imagine what it must have been like now, but I do remember just that sense of like wonder, that sense of like, oh, like you can move stuff around like on the TV. That interaction was really, really, really interesting, and I figured like, okay, let me. I just asked like, can I try playing it? And yeah, she said it was cool, and yeah. So I grew up with like Super Nintendo and N64. I played like Zelda, Mario, just Nintendo classics, and my cousin actually had a PS1. I didn't have one until like later, but oh, and then spoilers up ahead just in case, just to give a little warning. But yeah, I remember. I think my first actual memory of Final Fantasy in any way, shape, or form was the case for Final Fantasy VII on the PS1. I just remember seeing the back cover, and in my mind, I remember seeing the picture of, I didn't know it then, but it was Sephiroth holding Genova, his mother, I guess, and I guess that image against the white background of the jewel case was just so arresting. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. I don't even remember the words, but there was this just real great sense of wondering, like, what is this? What? Just completely, just like a mystery to me. And I didn't even actually play it until later. But that's the first memory I had. And it probably wasn't until like maybe just a while later that I actually had the chance to, because it allowed me to play it. And I just remembered staying up pretty late, just playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time. And I was just taking it in. I was just like, oh, the combat, like, it wasn't like I know some people might find the waiting between fighting to be kind of like just irksome, probably too slow for some people, but that's just turn-based combat. The word escaped my mind, but I don't know. I mean, that was just a part of it, but that's just what it was. It's like, oh, that's just a part of the game. Like, okay, cool, I'm taking it in, from the music going into the whole scene in the train leading into the beginning, Cloud jumping off, where it's like, let's go. And that sense of excitement, the sense of like, whoa, the griminess of it. I guess keep it in mind, like, back then everything was just all like, oh, colorful world of Disney, Nintendo, love as well. But it was just, that's what I kind of grew up on. So maybe also that sense of a complete contrast to what I was used to in video games, being presented to me in a way that I never experienced before. It was just something else. And yeah, I guess eventually I was able to keep playing on the PS1. I actually can't remember if I got one, if I borrowed one from my cousin or something, but thankfully I was able to play Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. Those were the first ones that I actually got to play. And each one was amazing in its own right. 7 is just a classic. It just is. To each their own. But 8, I gotta admit, I don't I think I was just so young, it just kind of flew by me, but I really, really remember enjoying it. 9 was, that was magical. I know a lot of people now, or people consider, or were able to see how different elements from the traditional Final Fantasy games were implemented into 9 and just added with that modern taste of what Final Fantasy has done up until that point. But it was only my third one. But I guess almost in a sense, I would like to think that that introduced me in a good way to the themes, a lot of themes that are present within the series, I think. War, in a way even existentialism, just a sense of wondering like, who are we, what are we doing here, why, the interaction between the characters, the setting, it's the game is just amazing, but as they all are. But it was just, at least for me at the time, Final Fantasy IX was very interesting because Vivi is just it was just so lovely to, and heartbreaking to see somebody that really pretty much as a child and just trying to figure out their place in the world, and to kind of eventually kind of grow very quickly to realize that, whoa, like, I guess this place is kind of uncertain, at least to him. Like, he grew up, from what I remember, it's the sense of like, you know, he was made to basically be a war machine, and him just kind of grappling with that sense of like, but that's not me, that's not who I want, is it? And just kind of that questioning within himself, and it's just so heart-wrenching, you know. But, and I love the scene where Jarl escaping on the airship against one of the Black Waltz mages, and he just gets this intense, and he's like, no, and then he just blows him up, like, just on the way through like the little exit, I guess, through their escape, and just a sense of determination, and I don't know, just it's like he himself still he or she, I'm not sure actually, but he or she still struggled with that sense of like placement of themselves in the world throughout the series, I think. But he grows, or she grows, into just, from what I remember, just to be okay with it and just be there for their friends, and that's, I think that was one of the loveliest character stories that I remember from the series. Obviously there's a lot, all of them. I mentioned a lot in 7, but that's another video maybe. But yeah, that just left an impression. And then Kuja, it's almost like, I just remember kind of being like the opposite of like, damn, like he's just so invested in himself, and to kind of also kind of come up with the same realization of like, oh, like I was made and then just to be used, and that's it, I'm gone, that's it, when I'm done. And here's an individual who just can't take that and approaches that same kind of like dilemma in a different direction, and the individual just can't take it, and it's just, obviously he goes on his own kind of rampage. But I was also attracted to his very flamboyant, very charismatic, very eloquent speaking character, and I don't know, I just remember maybe the androgyny too was something that I myself really just maybe even related to without even knowing about it. I consider myself androgynous in a way, but I'm just very open to the idea of just being an individual regardless of my gender, like physical or mental. You know, that's a whole another point as well, which touches on in other points in the series, but yeah, maybe another video. But yeah, I just found the character just so fascinating, and just to see how a similar dilemma between characters can take shape in many different forms because of like how they grew up, their own individual like ways of being. And that's something I really feel like is special about the series, in the sense that I feel in different stories throughout the series, it's never really just a clear-cut case of like good versus evil. There are kind of cases of it, but I really feel like it does its best, especially like the later series, to present both sides of just, let's just say, light and darkness. It's never just a clear-cut case of like, this is right, this is wrong. I think of Final Fantasy XII, how I'll come back to the other one later, but that was probably one of my first moments where that idea of questioning what is right and what is wrong was really, really kind of presented to me, and between Vayne, the struggle between even Gabranth and Bosch, his brother. Again, two individuals pretty much going through almost the exact same feeling or just a dilemma, and just kind of going on separate paths. And it's just like, at least for me, it was just kind of like, why do you do this? Like Gabranth, like when they get to the Rirana Cataract, I can't remember, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but one of my favorite series one of my favorite moments in the whole series is when the party is getting to the top of like some watchtower, and one of the central characters, Ash, just throughout the whole game is kind of struggling with trying to gain her land back, become just the princess who, or just the person who she needs to be for her kingdom. And she grows up with this resentment against the Empire, and just like, no, we need to like topple them, and she just wants this power. But throughout the story, like whether by chance or luck, even that in itself can be very relatable to life, and just kind of questioning like, where do these scenarios come from? But basically, but you know, our place in life is just where we happen to be. Another food for thought. But throughout her course, she comes to wonder through herself, her own questioning, and through the people that accompanies her. Just, you know, should I be doing this? Should I be so hell-bent on revenge? And like, do I really need to go down the same path of just like fighting like fire with fire? It's like, and it's like she slowly comes to a realization that like, wow, like I just can't. I don't think that I should be continuing in that same cycle. If I want to change it, she didn't really know what, but she has to do something different. And so when they kind of come into a confrontation of herself with her character, with that revelation, and then Bosch to kind of like Gabranth, and how Gabranth, it always kind of tripped me out, but how Gabranth was just kind of so like, no, like how can you forget like just the pain, the struggle of like the past, and obviously there's a lot that is missing if you haven't played the game, but it's just to see that kind of struggle between himself, Gabranth, and the feelings that he has against like the past. It's I don't know, I'm getting teary, but it just hurts. Maybe just because I'm a very empathetic individual character, but just to see him act and just behave in that way, it made me ask like, why do you do this? But just through thinking, through trying to understand like why this person feels that way, I think that was one of the, at least most conscious, earliest moments I had of a game even doing that for me, and just kind of like within the story to kind of like, whether it was purposeful or not, to just kind of ask me and maybe encourage me to think about it. But I loved it. And backtracking a little bit on 10, the story, it's, maybe I'll do a video on each one individually, but the story in 10 and the characters and the relationship between Titus, and Yuna, it's really sweet. It's heartbreaking. It's almost thinking about the optimism that exists between, even in a way not between just the characters, but let's just say spoiler again, but let's just say, alright, so Titus comes from a dream, right? To think that even within the dreams of these faith, of these gods in a way, they themselves have this kind of optimistic desire to just kind of make it better, like not wanting it to be the way that it is, and aiming for something more. And that in itself is something else. But the game 10, and just, I think just the religious themes within the game, kind of questioning like what prejudice is with Waka and the Al-Bhed. Him finding out that Yuna, a relative of his, is half Al-Bhed. He doesn't find out until later, and he himself has to question between like, damn, like I love you, but I hate the Al-Bhed. What the fuck? But it's just like, he himself also has to kind of overcome that and be like, damn, like, you know, she's just a person too. It's not like everybody is the same way. Something that I would like to think that we can all just kind of think about in our lives as well. But, you know, and then obviously the romance, there was a good romance in 8 too, from what I remember. But in 10, one of my favorite scenes is in 10, in what is it, the Malika Woods, I think. And when Titus and Yuna just share that kiss with Stekilani in the water, it's just like 3 or 5 minutes of pure bliss. It's beautiful, and that was one of my earliest memories of just a very, really, I would think, like genuine romance within the game as well. But beautiful. I actually didn't get to play 11, and obviously I didn't really catch up on the older games as well, but I did get a chance to play 4 and 6 eventually. 4 I loved as well. Just almost kind of love triangle between Cain, Cecil, and Rosa. That was something. And 6, just a plethora of characters. It is insane. But I should probably go back to those games too. But they were lovely in their own individual way as well. But actually, and then just to touch on 13 and 15 as well. I'll probably catch on 14 in another video. But just to share, because I know some people don't really enjoy 13 and 15. And, you know, to each their own, of course, respect. But at least for me, I really like to try and take each game for what it is, what it brings, like just for its own individual right. And I see, even though they were kind of developed in mind to be a part of a connected series, or at least like universe in a way, like with it being the versus content. I don't know, I think even if they eventually got separated, like there's a very interesting theme, I think, that plays into both of them, which is the idea of faith, the idea of like destiny. And 13, I loved it. I really, really, really did. I do feel like it kind of starts off really, really fast. It's like you're just thrown into the game, into like, oh, this is the world, this is what's going on, you gotta help save. And it's just like, it is a little overwhelming at first. It's just like, I'll see, what a see, like what? But at least for me, catching on and trying to just, again, it's not even catching on, it was just this idea, at least, what I really enjoyed about 13, aside from music and everything, the art direction, the battle system, is how their characters grow and the character development. I know some people might say that it's a little slow or it's not enough, but I think it worked really, really, really great within the pacing of the story and how it kind of just separates between 2 characters at a time, 2 or 3 characters at a time, just the way they interact with each other. Hope with Snow, Hope with Lightning, and just how all of them like tie in together. Saz with Vanille, Fang. See, just to kind of touch on one, I guess, the sense of each one grows. I can't even touch on one actually. It's just each one really grows through their own trials and tribulations and their own emotional weight. Let's just say I'll just bring up Hope. He grows up and he sees his mom die, and he blames it on Snow. You know, I feel like it was just an accident. Like it was a casualty of war, which is another unfortunate thing that we as people deal with. War. That's like I say, I realize how it's just a part of nature and part of life. I may not really want that. I very much desire peace just within myself and the people around me, and in life, a genuine desire for everybody to be at ease. But I know that's not really the way it is, and we as people have to deal with, I don't know if we have to, but deal with the consequences and how it relates to each one of us in life. But just to bring it up with Hope, he grows up with this idea of like, I want to get revenge, kind of like in 12, and he has to travel with the character Snow, and he's just holding on to this resentment so much, and Snow has no idea, but it just gets to a boiling point for Hope, and he's just like, he can't take it anymore, and he's literally gonna like just kill Snow. And I can't remember why, but I just remember there was an explosion, and Snow has this revelation, and like, well, he didn't get stabbed, but they fall, and Snow holds on to Hope, and Hope he wakes up and he's like, wow, like, why? Again, from what I remember, but he has this sense of like, why do you do this? Like, and Snow just holding on to that sense of like, it's just, he's just trying to do his best for himself. He knows that the actions he does maybe he isn't always able to be the hero, but he's trying to do his best for Sarah. Lightning and Snow don't always get along, and yet 13 was a little crazy, but there's this genuine sense of not wanting to give up, and that in itself is extended through everybody else in the game. I think of Lightning, I think of Saz. He's always kind of like no way, we can't, like, no, why? He's afraid, but he cares so much for his son. He just doesn't want anything to happen to him. Every individual in the game is faced with that sense of like, you need to do this. You may not know what it is, but you need to deliver on this focus. And if you don't do it, you're going to have a fate worse than like death for them. And everybody in the world knows this. It's like, if you don't do it, like, you're going to turn into like a beast, or you're going to turn into a crystal. Like, and they don't relate depending on what you do. But the point is that they themselves feel like, we can't let that happen. Like, they struggle and they fight against this sense of what they think is an unjust cause, an unjust like fate, and they literally push with everything that they have to not let that happen, whether it's for themselves or the people that they love. All of them connected to Sarah, and I think it's amazing. I think it's very, very beautiful. Again, that just the character development between all of them, and just how it does jump between the 2 or 3 characters at a time. And I mean, for me at least, I think it really, really just helps nurture each one of their relationships. Saz with Vanille, and the uncertainty that they have, just almost this kind of clueless character, and someone who really, she herself is clueless, but she's trying to run away, but they can't. The only thing they can do is just keep going. There's they can wallow in their misery for all they want, and they can keep running away, but it's still gonna be there. That dilemma's still there. Sometimes eventually we just have to do what we have to do, or fight it or go with it, but we have to do our best to keep moving forward. And for themselves, just a sense of finding that purpose, maybe even. I can't remember the guy's name, but I think Sid, the one who kind of eventually was a Falsi, and he was kind of helping the characters along the way. But he himself also eventually just feels like, wow, like, if I were to help you guys, it's partly because of what I was meant to do. But if I let that happen, like, that goes against my own consciousness. And I can't allow that. And to see his character also kind of be like, wow, like, be faced with that kind of dilemma within himself, and being like, I have to do what I have to do. And that might have even been a catalyst for the characters to kind of feel like, well, maybe his focus or his role in life was to follow what he himself felt like he needed to do. That in itself is a big question. But in the end, they fight for what they believe and what they have to do, fighting against their own predestined fate. And I thought it was amazing. But in contrast, in a way, then you have Final Fantasy XV, which I loved. I keep saying it, but for just the relationship between, obviously, the Chocobros, the gang, the guys, their camaraderie, it was very, very well written, and this is very, very sweet. And it's a struggle. It really shows just that dilemma between friendships and what kind of discord can happen when maybe we don't have similar ideas, or when we fight and bicker with one another. It's just a natural part of life. And they themselves are kind of tasked with kind of doing what they're destined to do. So again, it's a contrast to what 13 was, but it's almost like they embrace it. They embrace the sense of like, we as like caretakers to the king to be are gonna do what we need to do to protect him and make sure that what he can, that he makes it forward, that he makes it alive, or no, that he makes it to what he has to do, and not this himself. It takes him time to acknowledge, maybe even just kind of be able to carry that weight. It does feel a little like much, and Gladius gets mad at him because he's like, damn, like, dude, like, you need to get your shit together. This is like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just feel like I can relate to that sense of sometimes feeling like I can't, or I need time, and maybe sometimes I need to push myself more. I know I do sometimes. And then sometimes I just can't. I realize that I shouldn't always just kind of like hurt myself either, because like, dude, like if someone were to die within my life, it's just natural for, I think, just the body and the individual to take that in. To be honest, I never had that, but personally, but I had my dog, actually, who I just felt like really meant a lot to me, really. And I know it can't compare to a human being, or maybe, but at least for me, it just, there's a connection, and whatever that connection is, you feel it. And it's that feeling that I don't think that we can take away from ourselves as people, because it's just a part of who we are. Like, there's no denying it, I think. Maybe some people can handle it better than others, and all love and everything, but it's just that idea that, like, you know, we as people, we feel, and there is a realness to that. It's valid. It doesn't come from nowhere. But in the end, like, they also strive for that future that they want, and they feel like it is our destiny to fulfill this purpose, and we're gonna do it to, let's just say, save the world, or to do what we need to do to see a brighter future. And they kind of don't even question it, but it works for them. It works. It's like, and that's the kind of the weird, interesting, complex, like, just clash. I don't even know, but just that that contrast between 13 and 15 and how you tackle that same subject. And I thought it was amazing. But yeah, and Arden, that's again another video maybe. But his character is just probably one of my favorite villains in the series as a whole. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. But the artwork, which is whether by Amino, is amazing. The music, those will be individual videos. But yeah, I just want to take that time again to share my thoughts, maybe, and ideas on just what I loved about the games, and I don't know, just seeing where it goes. And yeah, just any other stories that people have, or if anybody wants to share what they feel that they enjoy from the series, if you want to post them on the comments or anything, just I think it'd be really, really great to see how it has touched people in many different ways. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Hopefully this was some food for thought and enjoyable to watch, and yeah, keep enjoying life and making the most out of it. So it's really something special, and it's a pleasure to be able to go through this despite the downs. It's like there's so many ups in life, and maybe I think it's something that maybe I got from the game and the series, but the sense of always needing or wanting to keep moving forward and knowing that it's just like it's never the end. It's like maybe up until a certain point, but even then it's just like gotta keep striving for what we're trying to do. But, yeah, love the future and peace.